Hello everybody and welcome along to another edition of the Rebel Wide Ball. Huge amount of stuff to get through from Gaelic games, in particular with so many matches, Camogie ladies football. We've obviously a bit of golf, soccer, boxing, sports star awards even. So we're going to start with Gaelic games, and of course this weekend is round 3 of the five Cork County Board organised championships, and I think we've said this so many times in the past. This particular championship, the structure is probably one of the best in the country, if not the best. So we've 60 teams in action, and of those 60, 30 of them will qualify for a semi-final or a quarter-final spot after the concluding games are played at the weekend. And would you believe it that, you know, after the 2 first-round games, 47 of the 60 have still a chance of qualifying. And if we go back to last year, I've used this before. Corsie Rovers in the Premier Intermediate hurling had no point. They were on a point difference of -8, and they qualified for the quarter-final and went on to the semi-final of the county championship. And I think there's about 3 teams this year that are kind of in a similar situation. So even teams that are down at the bottom can qualify. The other side of the coin is that you know that 12 teams in each of the championships, and 2 of the bottom 3 will contest a relegation final. And I was kind of looking through there. I think there's 25 of the 60 who could still face that possibility. Now it's a bit like the 47 of the 60. Obviously there's a difference between probably reality and mathematical reality. As I look out the window here, the weather isn't great, and with a huge amount of rain forecast for today and tomorrow, it would be an incredible achievement if all these matches get played on the pitches that they're meant to be. I think there's 4 matches alone down for Cork GAA over the weekend, and when you consider like these 30 matches, throw in ladies football, Camogie, couple all the divisional actions, how many pitches are going to be used this weekend, and hopefully, you know, that they'll all hold up. How many match officials will be required, and I note that for the majority of these matches, you're going to have the full cohort of officials required. So it's going to be a massive weekend. You know, Super Saturday and Super Sunday, we're used to those terms maybe from big soccer weekends, but I think this is a Super Saturday and a Super Sunday like we've never seen before. And because everything matters, every point scored, every hook, every block, every point prevented, all of the games will have to go on at the one time at the various championships. So on Saturday, we're going to be starting with the lower intermediate championship. That's on at 2 o'clock. Then at 4 o'clock, you have the intermediate A. Later on Saturday evening, you have the Premier Intermediate, and on Sunday then at 2 o'clock, you have the Premier Senior, and at 4 o'clock the Senior A. So if we just we'll have a look at some of these matches and try and predict what may happen. Now in the lower intermediate, this is an incredible championship, because at the end of next season, 8 of the 12 that will be in this will be relegated to the junior. Now the plan is obviously that there'll be junior structures put in place, or a review, I suppose, or an audit of what exists back in the divisions. I mean, some people are a little bit concerned about this, but anyway, in the lower intermediate, in Group A, you have Kilbrittain. They take on Grenagh, and like Kilbrittain are top of the group. I think they're going to get through there, and Grenagh are in big trouble are in big danger facing relegation. That game goes on in Ballinora, and you have Arragideen Rangers versus Dripsy, and both of those teams are fighting it out for the second spot, if you like. I think that Arragideen Rangers may be the team that get through there. The Dripsy team is a lot of mileage up there, and if they're not really doing, if they're not totally in control going to the last quarter, I think Arragideen will get through that one. In Group 2, it's basically Lisgould and Tracton deciding who'll top the group, because 2 out of the 6 here will go through to semi-finals. So I think, that Lisgould will probably get over that one. Down at the bottom, you have Russell Rovers and the Bears. That game goes on in Watergrass Hill, by the way. Lisgould and Tracton and Cork are in, and Arragideen Rangers and Dripsy. That game goes on in Ballinasig. So Russell Rovers and the Bears, they're out of the championship, so they're one of those. The losers will be fighting relegation. Of course, if they draw, it would be a different scenario because they'd have a point each then, and if GAA had lost. And finally, down in Group C, not that there's any down in the same standards, it's St. Catherine's taking on Bellygavin, and St. Catherine's are at top of the group at the moment on 4 points, and Bellygavin still have a chance because they have won a match. Milford and Barry Rowe, Milford have won a game as well, so they'll be going in looking for that second spot. Barry Rowe will be doing, it's a big one for them because last year they ended up in the relegation final. They would not want it to happen. Those two games, Bellygavin and St. Catherine's taking that game goes on in Cork, and Milford and Barry Rowe going on in Ovens. So, trying to call this, but I think it's probably maybe Barry Rowe and GAA would be the teams that would be in big trouble there. But this is, like these teams that is called the lower intermediate, yes, but they're evenly matched. There's been some great matches in it, and the teams in it would prefer a structure like that to be in place in the divisions when they get back. Will that happen? I'm not too sure. Then on Saturday afternoon, we move on to the 4 o'clock slot, and that's the Intermediate A. And here we have obviously the 6 matches again. SARS taking on Glen Rovers, and I think that SARS are on top. They're on 4 points. I think they'll be favourites to get through there. And then you've done Gourney versus Ahabolog, and Ahabolog were in this final last year. I expect them to get through on that one, but again it's really competitive, and Glen Rovers will be trying to get something out because they don't want to be drawn into a relegation final. Castlemartyr and Mayfield in Group B are playing out for a semi-final spot, probably Mayfield slight favourites, and Blackrock and Douglas, and again these two, see the matches are all going together, but obviously there'll be little delays, and I would imagine all over the county for these games, one of the most important backroom people will be the person who will be checking on social media and through phone contacts how the other games are going, because like Blackrock and, I'm not saying this would happen, but Blackrock and Douglas, if they found out that Glen Rovers were being beaten, and if they found out that Mealan were being beaten, could arrange a draw. Say for example, if there was a penalty in the last minute of that game, and the side getting the penalty were a point down, and if you knew that Glen Rovers were being beaten, and in Group C that Mealan were losing their match to Clydugh, we'll come to that in a minute. So things like that are good, there'll be so much involved in these games. Then on Group C we've Clydugh playing Mealan, and Mealan have yet to get a point, and obviously they need something to get them out of that scenario, and Clydugh have 3 points so far, so I suppose they're going to be the favourites there. And Kildare, their footballers might be going that well, but their hurlers are, and they should get through that slot. They play Middleton that game in Fermoy. Clydugh and Mealan play in Mill Street. SARS and Glen Rovers playing Barney, Dungourney, and Ahabolog and Port Gurin, and there'll be some test of the ground staff there. Castlemartyr, Mayfield and Carlag, and then Blackrock and Douglas and Ballinlough. And on Saturday evening, obviously these games will be floodlight. It's the Premier Intermediate Hurling Championship, and as is every year with this is a tight, incredibly close and so competitive championship. In Group A, Cork Rovers, remember I met them, spoke about them, they're on 4 points, and they take on Aero, who are on 2. So Aero will need to win that one, and it will be a big ask for them. Like they've also their football side to contend with. Carrigalla in their third spot, but I'd expect them to get over Youghal. So it's looking like that the two southeast teams could get through there, but Youghal again are in danger of ending up in a relegation battle with a points tally of -17, or a points difference. In the second group, Castlelyons are home and hosed, I would imagine, one of the favourites for the championship. And they play in Escara, who've been a tad disappointed, I would suggest, and were probably looking the last day out to get over Watergrass Hill. So I think that Castlelyons will win that one. A big game, I would suggest, in that group is the one between Valley Rovers and Watergrass Hill. And last year, Watergrass Hill, you may remember, 6 points, won all 3 matches, have lost 2 so far. And they still have a mathematical chance if they beat Valley Rovers. And if Castlelyons inflicted a bit of a defeat on Inniscarra, they could still get there now to be a big beat of an ass, but they're one of the teams I think that could cause a bit of a surprise. In the next group, Ballinhassig 4 points. I think they're more or less assured of their spot, and they play Kilworth, who are on 3 points. They winning a game and drawing a game. Ballincollig here are a tad disappointed. They play Ada, who I think are out of the championship and are definitely one of the favourites to end up in a relegation final. They have a scoring difference of -24. But if I suppose what could happen here if Ballincollig, if they can obviously get a win here, they could still, but it's going to be an ass for them. But Kilworth have a +8, so if they lose, they're on 3 points, and you know the losing there and the points difference could come into play. And if teams are level, now the head-to-head decides it on the group, but if three teams in a group are level points, it then goes to scoring difference. So we're going to have a few interesting scenarios like that where we'll be out. Then on Sunday, the big one, obviously the Premier Senior, which is on they're the early throwing at 2 o'clock. Douglas and their group are more or less assured of their spot, and is this going to be their year? They play Bishopstown. Bishopstown have only 1 point, and they have probably an outside chance of qualifying. Glen Rovers will be heading down to Morenamie to take on Newtown Chandrum, and they'll be the favourites to win there. Would they not to be a big shock, and it could mean that they mightn't get through to the knockout stages. The second in Group B there, SARS and Middleton are playing out for a semi-final spot, and the senior, in the Premier Senior, there's only 1 semi-final spot because of the fact that the divisions have to be accommodated, and Carrigtwohill and Pearshig are basically in a relegation battle. Probably Carrigtwohill are the slight favourites there. Bars in the next group is really open. Bars and Blackrock, that's a kind of a winner-takes-all job. You know, a draw would do the Bars, but Blackrock, remember, they're the county champions, and you know, losing a match has put them under a bit of pressure. So that's going to be the biggest game of the weekend in terms of senior hurling. Erin's Own, like Charleville, will be so disappointing, you know, fighting it so hard to get up into this, but they look now like to be in a team that's on the way out of this championship, or at least into a relegation final. So great games and on those venues. Now sometimes I forget to include the venues, but you'll probably find those along the way. You know, you'll probably be well aware of them at this stage. And finally then at 4 o'clock we have the Senior A Hurling Championship, and of course this is important, gets up into Premier Senior, and like for the team that lose it, they lose the tag of being a senior hurling team, you know, the team that's relegated, I should say. Cantorp and Blarney are the 2 top teams in this, and I think there'll be 2 teams to get through. Fermoy and Bandon are more or less out of it, and the big story here is to see which of them tries to avoid relegation. Cantorp playing Fermoy, and I would imagine they will win that game in both of it, and Blarney taking on Bandon and Ballyanley, and look, you can't look beyond Blarney with their star-studded side. Bandon haven't been going that well because of injuries and absentees, so it's a big ask for them. In the next group then, Bride Rovers take on Mallow, and Mallow have their 1 win, but Bride Rovers have 2, and I think they're the team that would get through there. Ballymartle taking on Ballyhay, and Ballyhay, who dropped down last year, looking serious, you know, it's a serious challenge for them not to avoid a relegation final. You know, they have a minus tally, no point yet on the scoreboard, and a -20. So I'd imagine Ballymartle would be the team that will win that, so it could be Bride Rovers and Ballymartle going up. And I think it's clearer cut maybe in the other 2 games in Group C. You have Noosastown playing Killa. I'd expect Noosastown to win that. I'd expect Father O'Neill's to beat Clyne, and that means that probably Clyne are definitely the team that will be contesting the relegation final. So when all of that is done, on Sunday evening, well, as each of them will be finished, the pairings will be automatically, you know, the teams are graded. The top, the teams that come top are graded 1, 2, 3. The runners up are 4, 5 and 6, and then they make the quarter-final draws are automatic, if you like. So as I said at the start, I think this is absolutely the best championship they can ever have. There's only two things I'm concerned about: that they need a little bit more time. And we saw during the week, we see a little bit of talk about changes to be made to the Inter-County Football Championship. Okay, let them at that, but one thing that has to be sure is that the inter-county season must finish earlier than it did this year, because we can now see what's happening, and it would be an absolute miracle if these club championships can get finished because of weather conditions. And you know, this thing about the All-Ireland should be, I know some people would harbour notions that because of what happened with the COVID situation, with the Tyrone and Mayo game, like, don't let that be an example. And this is where the GAA really needs to be firm. The All-Ireland needs to be finished off into July, start of August, and then let the clubs have their day. And Camogie, they're coming to their vital part of their championships as well. And tomorrow evening, they start. They have matches Friday, Saturday and Sunday. And the big game on Friday evening is in Escara playing Killa. I'm not too sure where Hannah Looney, whether she's out of the country or not. If she was, I think that might give Escara a chance. Otherwise, Killa would be the defensive side. In the intermediate game on Friday night, it's a big one between two favourites in this competition, between Father O'Neill's and Brian Dillon's. Father O'Neill's a big win last weekend. Maybe Brian Dillon's are the more seasoned side, so they probably get the nod. That's the Friday games. On Saturday then we have 2 junior A games, a number of intermediate games, a junior 13-a-side game and a senior. The 2 junior games, a young Ballinascarthy side will take on Mallow. I think they might get through there. Charleville and St. Vincent. St. Vincent have been trying to win this championship for so long. We'll have to give them the nod. Then this 13-a-side, St. Colum's take on Erin's Own, and Libby Coppinger playing with St. Colum's. You'd imagine that would give them the nod. 3 games at intermediate, and this is a really competitive championship. I think that Piercy could probably be a little bit too good for Clonakilty. Ballyhay and Blackrock. Nothing between them from what I can gather. Maybe Blackrock would be the slight favourites, and I think Bullock would be slightly too good for Newtown, Shandrum. And the big senior game is the one between SARS and the county champions Corsi Rovers. And my God, the absence of Linda Collins, I'm surprised that she has immigrated out of the country at the moment. So, you know, they struggled last week, and I think that gives SARS the advantage there in that big senior game. And then Sunday you've 3 games as well, 2 in the junior A, Tracton and Slieve Road, near neighbours in the South East Division. Probably Tracton should get over that one. And the SARS second team taking on Ballinora. I fancy Ballinora there. And the big senior game, St. Catherine's taking on Shandoon. I suppose Shandoon, it depends on how their players get on, you know, with Brian Dillon's and St. Vincent's on the Saturday. If they have them all and they're fully fit, they'd have a good chance of beating St. Catherine's. And of course the 4th team and through to the semi-finals are St. Finbarr's. They're through there from their performances so far. In ladies football, it's a big weekend in the senior. You know, as I said to you before, it's divided up into 2 groups, and in Group 1, where you're more than happy are going to win that group, is deciding who will get through to the semi-finals with them. And in Rovers meet Ahata, they both drew last weekend, which is good results for them. So this is the vital game, and the ladies football games are all on Sunday. So Inch Rovers and Ahata probably, you know, I'm not too sure how to call this one, to be honest with you. Maybe Ahata get the slight call, and then you have Bride Rovers playing for Moy. And from Moy haven't been performing that well, so Bride Rovers have a good chance here. So maybe Bride Rovers would be the favourites. But as I said, the runners-up spot in this is the most interesting one. In the Group 2, basically, Airog are already assured of a qualification. They play Clonakilty and they have 2 wins, so I'd expect them to get through that one. And Kinsale and St. Val's, I would imagine that Kinsale would be the team. There's no intermediate game in the junior. They're still kind of in the league section. They're the big game in that one is going to be between 2 of the favourites, the West Cork teams, Castlehaven and Castlehaven and Dunmanway. That's on a Castlehaven on Sunday. Moving on to the world of soccer, if you wish. And you know, this is an international this is international weekend, if you like, and Ireland play Azerbaijan in a World Cup qualifier in Baku on Saturday at 5 o'clock. The outcome here is of no consequence in terms of qualification, because Ireland are not going to qualify. No, by the way, Azerbaijan, but it's all about performance, all about the Stephen Kinney project. They play Qatar on Tuesday, and then they have 2 games between to finish off the campaign. I think it's Portugal and Switzerland in November. So these matches now are more or less getting people to keep believing in this experiment. But the big talking point, of course, was I don't even want to know, is it what an admission by Callum Robinson that despite the fact that he's had COVID twice, that he's not vaccinated, and this would appear to be, depends on your attitude to this, that quite a number of soccer players haven't taken the vaccine. And of course, when he admitted this, and I don't know whether I'm using the right word, admitted, it nearly took away from what the match is all about, and it nearly became a battle between the anti-vaxxers and the pro-vaxxers, insofar as that, should anybody be discussing a person's medical history or medical situation. And I don't know why anybody brought it into the public forum. Like there's quite a number of that Irish team I think haven't been vaccinated. And since Stephen Kinney came over, COVID has been, if you like, the shadow hanging over him. And then of course you had some smart aleck decide to discover that, Callum Robinson has had COVID more often he has scored for Ireland. And of course, like to some people, this is a great crack. But anyway, I think the spotlight has been stolen a bit from the match itself and what we should be really looking for from the game. But that's the way it is. And then you have Jurgen Klopp, who came out, the Liverpool manager, and I know a lot of you follow Liverpool, who reckon that people that don't get vaccinated, they're like drunk drivers, because if you're not vaccinated, you're in danger of passing it on to someone else. No, I'm not too sure that analogy was quite up to it. But anyway, that was the story with that. What else we got? Of course, I should have mentioned probably earlier on that a number of Cork players have been selected for, they've got all-star nominations. A good one for Patrick Collins, he's the goalkeeper. That's his first nomination. 4 defenders, Tim O'Mahony, Rob Downey, Mark Coleman and Sean O'Donoghue. None of the midfielders, well, nobody from Cork I think has been nominated for the midfield, and 4 forwards, Jack O'Connor, Shane Kingston, Patrick Horgan and Shamie Harnedy. And interesting though for Shane Barrett, the Blarney player has been nominated as one of the 3 for a Young Player of the Year. So obviously for the players that's nominated, a special day, for a special occasion for them. Moving on to golf, and of course last weekend was a big day for John Murphy. Some of you will know who this guy is. At the first cut of silage this season, he was an amateur golfer, then he turned professional, and has been making strides, but he's still a rookie. And he got his big chances put in, and that's it, got his big chance, but he was invited to play in the Alfred Dunhill Links Championship in Scotland. Just played over 3 different courses, 4 days, and on the last day, he was the last person out with the leader, which was an incredible performance. He ended up finishing in 9th place and picked up a handy cheque in excess of 80,000 grand for himself. But what it means now is that, getting a tool card is what this young man is all about. And to do that, you probably have to finish in one of the ones you were invited into, in one of the top 3. This week he goes to Spain. He's taking place in the Spanish Open, and there was a photograph that appeared on Instagram of himself and John Ram, who's the world #1 and who's going to, he's leading the way in the moment actually in this Spanish championship, which started today and will go on for the weekend, over the weekend. But this fella John Ram is going for a unique record of winning this championship 3 times in a row, leading player in the world. But there's a photograph of himself and John Murphy, and some smart aleck decided that, the 2 Johnnies, I'd say John Ram was trying to figure out what's this all about. But anyway, John Murphy, we spoke to you about him before. He played hurling and football at underage level with Kinsale, and his father played with, Owen Murphy played with Valley Rovers, an accomplished golfer himself, and that group of Murphys, they're part of the Con Murphy family, if you like. So you can only wish him the best of luck, and I suppose if he can get a top 10 finish, that's what he needs to get invited into another tournament. So yeah, he's a good personality as well, and let's hope that he makes it in that tough competitive sport. For those of you that are into boxing, we've been asked to remind you of the big heavyweight clash over the weekend, the trilogy between Tyson Fury and Deontay Wilder, the American. And they've met seemingly 3 times, drew the first time. Fury won it the second time. Wilder wasn't too impressed with his trainer, who fired into White House. So they're in action in Las Vegas. And obviously quite a number of Irish people will get up at 4 o'clock to watch this carry on. So if you're a boxing fan, that'll probably entertain you for the weekend. And finally, we mentioned the Sports Stars Award. Well, last night there was a pleasant function in the Celtic Cross. Another one of these Celtic Cross West Cork Sports Awards was presented, and the recipient on this occasion was Johnny Kelly. He got the award because of his he's captain of Dunmanway Town soccer team that won the Beamish Cup, the 2020 Beamish Cup at Turner's Cross against Clonakilty, and he scored the late winner. He's an outstanding sportsman in terms of his versatility. He plays hurling with the Dawnies and will be in action for their junior team in midfield when they play this Saturday or Sunday against Ballinascarty in the West Cork Junior semi-final. And he's also captain of the Dawnies senior football team that play Bandon on Sunday week. So an all-round talented sportsman and all-round nice guy. So it was nice that he picked up that award last night. So until the next time, have a good one and enjoy all those massive sporting occasions that hopefully will keep you entertained all over the weekend. Thanks again for tuning this way.